Okay. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that. Okay, next we're on to audience participation.
There is none.
No audience participation. Next we're on to council communication committee reports. Ms. Bellin.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Steele. I attended this evening's Finance Committee meeting. I will allow one of my colleagues to report on that. The Architectural Review Board met on Thursday, November 21st. There are 5 cases on the agenda that evening. Case 1911-119 was a shed located at 2592 East Aurora Road. The board suggested they revise and resubmit at a later date. Case 1911-120 was a new single-family home in Whispering Woods at 8776 Maryville Drive, which was approved. Case 1911-121 was a new single-family home also in Whispering Woods at 8812 Maryville Drive, which was approved. Case 1911-122 was a shed to be built by Eagle Scout Brandon Kirkpatrick at 9050 Church Street, which is First Congressional Church. It was approved contingent on approval of the Planning Commission. Case 1911-123 was a new single-family home in Quarry Reserve, Boulderbrook at 2964 Darlene Court, which was approved. The next Architectural Review Board meeting will be held on Thursday, December 5th, 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. This actually represents my last report as council rep to the ARB. It's been my pleasure, and I'd like to sincerely thank the members of that board for their awesome work. The final Golf Advisory Board meeting of 2019 was held on Tuesday, November 19th. We got a financial report from Brian Menard. We actually had the best October in our history. He went on record as saying that the staff was amazing this year. We're getting close to 30,000 starts for the season. If we get a couple more good days, we might actually get there. We're actually going to be doing a large Black Friday sale, which is going to be a cross-promotional with the restaurant as well. Brian does not anticipate any issues from competition from 1899, which is the new golf place opening in Reminderville, or Top Golf down in Independence. We also got course updates from Jim Roberts. This, of course, was the first year maintaining the grounds at the clubhouse. The course was in great shape. The aeration was completed on the greens, tees, and fairways. Fall cleanup continues. We're doing mulching, blowing the leaves, etc. We have actually removed over 100 stumps this year around the golf course. The driving range is actually closed for the remainder of the year. We'll be using the mats instead of the grass. We got a banquet and restaurant update from Derek Schroeder. Since the September meeting, they've been working with the restaurant consultant, Zach Burrell, which the mayor mentioned, on kitchen layout changes, menu changes, those kind of things. Based on the consultant's recommendation and the closing of the golf season, the restaurant has switched to winter hours now and will be closed on Sundays and Mondays. Restaurant is available to rent to large parties on these days, though. Next Golf Advisory Board meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 21st, 2020, 6:30 p.m., also here in Council Chambers. As with ARB, this does represent my last report as the council rep to the Golf Advisory Board. I have been the rep to this committee for 2 years, my first 2 years on council. It's been my absolute pleasure, and I'd like to thank the members of the Golf Advisory Board. Finally this evening, I just kind of want to express my disappointment with the roundabout project. I know this is something that we've talked about. I've heard several complaints about how dark it is. The residents are concerned with their safety. I've had conversations with Amy Moore and with the mayor and the rest of council. I understand that there are delays with a project of this magnitude that are out of our control, but I just wanted to go on the record as saying that it's really disappointing. So, nothing further this evening. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. The Planning Commission met Monday, November 18th here in Council Chambers, and there were a few items on the agenda. There was a public hearing for the conditional use permit for the pet crematory, for Faithful Companion Pet Crematory. There was also a conditional use permit for private recreational facilities for Twinsburg Karate Institute, and Reggie Brown and his establishment. There were no comments either for or against at the public hearing for either of those two issues. During the work session, the conditional use permits were discussed, and again, those would be for the pet crematory and for the Twinsburg Karate Institute. Both of those items were approved as They were approved as submitted by the Planning Commission pending council's final approval. That basically concluded the contents of that meeting. I know that on the next Planning Commission meeting scheduled for December 2nd, we will be discussing the Eagle Scout project at Twinsburg First Congregational Church. The next meeting is Monday, September 2nd, 2019, at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. That concludes my report this evening.
Mr. Scafidi.
Thank you. Good evening. I also attended the Finance Committee meeting earlier this evening, and I will yield that report to the Finance Chairman. The Board of Zoning Appeals has not met in a while, but they will be meeting tomorrow night right here in the council chambers at 6:30. And that's the end of my report tonight. Thank you.
Mrs. Stoffer.
My committees did not meet. I attended the Finance Committee meeting. But other than that, I've had no meetings.
Ms. McFerrin.
I also attended the finance meeting this evening. I also attended O'Reilly's open house of the Akron Distribution Center at Cornerstone Park. They had their official grand opening on November 18th. I did want to point out that the Twinsburg Senior Center, you have to be, it's for 55 and older. I don't think they ask for proof of age, but you can sign up for the free online newsletter anytime between now and December 19th. And it's full of activities every day of every week of every month. So that's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Fury.
Thank you. I had an opportunity to attend a CERT training on Saturday the 16th, which was a search and rescue scenarios, multiple search and rescue scenarios based in the woods and green space down at Cleveland Clinic in conjunction with Copley. Steve also ran it as well as Commander John Houston. There are 65 members of the community that are members of our CERT team, and Copley is the other one that's the most active. If you're interested in joining, CERT members go on trainings and get more acclimated on how to work with police and fire at times when we can offload work from them, whether it be crowd control or road closures, in traffic, in emergency, you get activated, and if you're available, you go where you're needed, but the training's important so that you know what to do when you get there. I also attended a informational seminar that CERT put on through the Victim Assistance Program with Jana Prisa, who's the Director of Community Education for Summit County, regarding human trafficking. Ohio ranks 4th in the nation in human trafficking, and Fair Lawn, for instance, is one of the highest areas in the state. And that's due to the economic success, the hotels, and the crossroads of the interstates in that area. It was very informative. And I think that we're going to have Jan come up and do this at the Twinsburg Library so that more people can become informed. This evening at 5 p.m. we had a Treasury Investment Board. The Treasury Investment Board reviews the monies that the city has put into bonds and bank accounts for interest. 15 years ago, the city was getting $600,000 to $700,000 just by putting their money in a savings account because you could get interest rates in 4 or 5%. Then it was 0.006 for a while, and we got nothing. So Karen House started this about 5 years ago. The numbers that we've gotten so far, since in the last 5 years, we've been able to capture $700,000 on the $10 million that we would have just had sitting in some sort of an account. And with interest rates where they're at this year, we're projected to do about another 220. So we're almost close to $1 million in interest over 6 years to generate money. Again, always looking for sources of new revenue. It's an annual meeting. We deal with meter investments. Again, this is a state certified. We have lots of rules on what we can put money in or what they can put money in. And Eileen Stanek was the representative that works with our finance director. So there won't be another meeting of that group until October 2020. But again, almost $1 million in interest is expected to be closed by the end of the year. Then we had a finance meeting. What we're doing in finance meetings right now are reviewing the budgets, both capital and operational budgets. Tonight we talked with Derek Schroeder for Park and Recs and Chris Campbell for Service, just reviewing line items. Again, after everything that's gone through from the summer and fall, and the capital improvements board has already made their recommendation, it looks very aggressive for next year's budget. So I'm highly anticipating. And again, we've done most of our major projects are already completed, so the expense and capital should be much less, and I expect to continue to have reserves. Our statement of cash from October, which is the last version that's available, shows that we have a balance in our general fund of $10.7 million. We started with a beginning balance of $2.296 million, so we're up $2.4 million. $2.4 million up in our general fund. And the cash we have on hand through all of our unexpended balances is $20.998 million, which is $600,000 higher than the 2.4 that we've maintained, the 20.4 that we maintained pretty much through the summer and into the fall. So again, these aren't final numbers. We still have 2 months left, but I'd rather tell you that our general fund's up $2.4 million and down $2.4 million. So I think some of the work that council and the administration have done has been paying off, and look forward to continuing this as we move forward in the next year. That's all I had this evening. Thank you very much.
Okay. I was here for the Finance Committee meeting, which Mr. Fury just reported on. None of my other committees have met. Next up is the mayor.
All right, good evening, everyone. Couple of things going to run through here. So we have, each year we receive a grant from NOPEC, energy grant, that we can use for a lot of different interrelated products around the city. This year we targeted putting in charging stations. And so we have installed 4 charging stations for electric vehicles around the city. We have one at City Hall, one down on the square, one at the outdoor pool, and one at the at Glen Eagles. All of them are operational. We're still having some software issues with a couple of them, but they should be up and running here in the next couple of weeks. And it's kind of interesting because we had a well, I call him a kid. Yeah, we had a kid come in here from working with Tesla 5 years ago that wanted us to put a Tesla charger in the city. That was when Tesla was basically the primary electric vehicle. Now all the manufacturers are producing electric vehicles, and I received an email from him. He has a whole group of electric vehicle friends that are excited about this project. And basically Twinsburg now embracing the use of charging stations and electric vehicles in the city. So just wanted to make you aware what those are up and running. The roundabout, I agree with you. I think this project has been extremely frustrating, both from an administrative standpoint. We have state routes, and ODOT gets involved. We lose a little bit of the control of the project, which has become very frustrating, I think, for all of us. The lights, I believe, have been powered, but now we're dependent upon Ohio Edison to come and actually make them shine. So it's one of those things that we're going to stay on that. I got very frustrated this week and sent out a pretty aggressive email regarding striping and barrels and all that kind of stuff. And lo and behold, we have no barrel up there. We have a little bit of landscaping to do in the center. I know we were issuing a bunch of tickets over the last few days to primarily southbound traffic. But I believe it's operating well. I talked to a number of people who like the new traffic pattern. I've been through it at rush hour, and it seems to move traffic very well. So hopefully we continue to have success with it, and we get it finally complete for the residents in Meadowwood. We are going to be starting a process with our comprehensive plan again. So it's something we do every 5 years. And we are going to be looking for residents. I know we're going to advertise for that. So we're putting together a committee to work with Larry Finch and I'll be part of it, council will be part of it, looking at our comprehensive plan, so just be a lookout for that. An event that I went to that I failed to mention at the last meeting that I just really wanted to, I guess, compliment both the group as well as the event itself was the show choir fundraiser at Glen Eagles. It was a really fun event. It was extremely well organized. And then just the amount of money they raised for that particular group. And if you've never seen our show choir perform, I would encourage you to. They're a very talented group of kids that are recognized nationally. So, but I did attend that with my wife, and then they do a great job. And I think they had a great evening at Glen Eagles with that particular banquet. The whole place was packed. So, but again, as they have their competitions and start performing, I would encourage you to go see them. I also attended the O'Reilly's. They called it a grand opening. It was interesting. It was their first day of operations, and it was one of those things that got put on the schedule, and we got a tour of the facility. A lot of things were getting worked out. They didn't do a formal ribbon cutting with the chamber or anything like that, so I encouraged them, and I believe when they do their grand opening there's also going to be an auto parts store there that we make a big deal out of it. And we get council, we get the chamber, and they did a few pictures for internal purposes while we were there, but and we were able to take a tour, but I'd like to see them do something. It's a big company that's come to Twinsburg, so I'll keep you informed on when that occurs. Currently right now, we have a Thanksgiving dinner going on for free up at our community center. It's something that was organized. We have churches involved. We have tons of volunteers that come put this on, and I know Angel Keefe also helps raise money through employees, so a lot of our employees contribute to it. But I was up there before the meeting, and they had a line out the door an hour before they started serving, so they started serving about a half hour early. But I just want to thank everyone who participates in that. So it's a great thing that we do for our residents and for their families. Tomorrow at the Chamber House, there's going to be the toy exchange, so for Luminosity. So this is where kids come in and donate a toy, and I believe in the past they received a light wand that had a number that allows them to be selected to flip switch for Luminosity when we do that. I'm not sure if that's still going on. I know the toy exchange is still happening tomorrow between 12 and 2. Luminosity itself is December 7th, so I encourage you to come for that event. It's a good time. We light up City Hall, we close up Ravenna Road, we go down the square and we light up the square, but we have usually a couple thousand residents that show up for that and participate between us and the township and Reminderville. But that is going to be December 7th, so probably right around 6 o'clock. Like tonight, which is our Hanukkah event, is on the 23rd, so I'm just announcing this so you can get it on your schedule. It's a little bit late this year, but it is going to be on the 23rd from 6 to 8 up at the community center. And then, let's see, coming up December 1st, so it's on a Sunday, we're going to do our oath of office for those that were successful in this past election. So it is a Sunday at 12 o'clock and Thanksgiving weekend, so it's coming up this weekend. But I just wanted to announce that for anyone that it is going to be open that wants to come and be part of that. And then lastly, I just want to wish residents a very blessed and happy Thanksgiving. And that's all I have this evening. And I think, Coletta, you're reporting? You're not reporting, right? So I think we just have Sarah.
Good evening, Council. November 2019 income tax receipts came in at $1.6 million compared to last year at 1.58. That's an increase of 2.67%, or about $42,000. We are up for the year 3.54%, which is $748,000. We're at 21.87 versus last year at this time we were at 21.12. That's all I have.
Okay. Now we're on the legislation. Before we start with the ordinances, I have two motions here that we need to approve. First motion is that the city council does not oppose the transfer of liquor permit for WJMJ Incorporated to Hogel's Investments, doing business as Mavis Winkles Irish, located at 8870 Darrow Road, Suite F107, and authorize the clerk to submit the form to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. I'd like to make a motion, we approve this. Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Next motion is to allow alcohol to be served at the community center on January the 24th and the Twinsburg Fitness Center on March the 13th. I'd like to make a motion that we approve this. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay. Both the motions passed 7-0. Okay, next we're on to the first ordinance, which is 97, 2019.
An ordinance amending Section 149 of the codified ordinances of the City of Twinsburg regarding fees and deposits.
Ordinance 97, 2019 now stands on its second reading. Next is ordinance 98, 2019.
Ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 18, 2019, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2019, and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 98, 2019 an emergency and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
No second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion?
The reason for the emergency is this is a transfer that we need to put money into 3 accounts. Communication overtime, communication payroll, and police.
Okay.
It's a total of $60,000 between those 3 funds.
Okay. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency passes 7-0. Next, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 98, 2019. Is there a second?
No second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any further discussion? Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 98, 2019 passes 7-0. Next is ordinance 99, 2019.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 18, 2019, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2019, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, next I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 99, 2019 an emergency and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion?
Purpose of the emergency is to transfer $25,000 for the service miscellaneous contractual account. They need to balance it, and the money comes from the general fund.
Anybody else? Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency passes 7-0. Next, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 99, 2019. Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 99, 2019 passes 7-0. Next, we're on to ordinance 100, 2019.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 18, 2019, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2019, and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 100, 2019 an emergency and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Barr seconds. Any discussion?
Similar to the previous appropriation amendments, this is to transfer $22,500 from the general fund to 3 Parks and Rec accounts. Rec salaries, rec overtime, and miscellaneous. Again, the total is $22,500.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 100, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds.
Wait a minute, we didn't call a roll on that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
You're right. I'd like to, Shannon, call the roll on the emergency clause. My fault.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The emergency passes 7-0. Next, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 100, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There, okay. Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Any further discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 100, 2019 passes 7-0. Next, we're on to ordinance 101, 2019.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 18, 2019, appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2019, and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 101, 2019 an emergency and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Is there any discussion?
The reason for the emergency is that the last 3 emergencies we've done, we've spent about $120,000. And this emergency, we're taking $110,000 from other funds that we're not going to use this year, putting them back into the general fund. So that we're going to have a zero-sum game by the time that the evening's over. We'll have replaced, we'll take money we're not going to use in the general fund and do some internal transfers, and at the end of the day, we have not added any money to the budget. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 101, 2019. Is there a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Scafidi.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 101, 2019 passes 7-0. Next is ordinance 103, 2019.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 18, 2019, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2019, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 103, 2019 an emergency and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Barr seconds. Any discussion?
This is just some housekeeping to allow us to transfer $9,000 from the federal grant fund into the general fund. Just want to get that done before the end of the year. We anticipated these revenues, I believe, last year, so we're just making good on that.
Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 103, 2019. Any further discussion?
Is there a second?
We need a second.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any further discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury,
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer,
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin,
Yes.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 103, 2019 passes 7-0. Next is ordinance 104, 2019.
The annual appropriation ordinance for 2020 approved by council from estimates submitted by the mayor providing for the ordinary expenses and other necessary expenses of the city of Twinsburg, Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020.
Okay, that stands on its first reading. Next is ordinance 105, 2019.
An ordinance establishing cost of living wage increases for the non-bargaining unit employees commencing January 1st, 2020 and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 105, 2019 an emergency and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
No second?
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion?
The
The,
purpose of this ordinance tonight is to give the mayor and all the other non-union employees within the city the same yearly increase. Yeah, I think he is in there.
No. Is the mayor not in there, is he?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it says it in the title.
No.
Says-
And that was my point.
That was the-
bringing
The mayor's
the-
not.
Apologize.
Okay.
That was
This
the-
gives a 2.5% increase to all the non-bargaining employees with the city, which is the same increase that the bargaining units are getting. So it makes it fair for everybody.
Right, there you go.
Sorry about that, missed
Correct.
that.
yeah, the actual salary ordinance, these are all within the ranges. There may be some adjustments on that salary ordinance, but that'll be coming before you also, next council meeting.
Okay. Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency passes 7-0. I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 105, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Okay. I'm going to be voting no against this. Not that the people deserve the 2.5%, but one of our department heads in 2 council meetings here admitted, one, that something slipped through the cracks, and then he dropped the ball on something else. And I believe in accountability. As a police officer of this city, if I screwed up, I got held accountable for it. And I think we should, that's why I'm voting no, because I think that person should be held accountable.
Wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Steele, what, can you repeat that?
In 2 out of the last 3 council meetings that we've been here, one of our department heads admitted in one of them that something slipped through the cracks that he was responsible for, and then he admitted he also dropped the ball on something else. Okay? And I believe in accountability. Okay? And that's why I'm voting against this.
Against ordinance 105.
Yeah, not that the rest
Okay.
of our department heads and the rest of our bargaining people don't deserve the 2.5%. In fact, 2.5% is pretty low. Okay.
Okay, but I understand your position. I don't recall this department head coming up here and saying that.
Oh, he did. Trust me, he did. One thing he let slip through the cracks for 4 years. Okay?
But is that something that would be handled here
I haven't missed a meeting,
outside
so
of
I don't-
that with the mayor and that person?
Well, I'm just saying that's what I feel. It's accountability. And I don't know if anything's been done about that, but that's what I feel. Okay.
Well, can I
Any-
have clarification then
Sure.
from either the mayor or Mr. Maestros? I mean, this is just saying everyone that's eligible, right, would get it, and you could.
This is all of our non-bargaining
Right.
employees, yeah, that are not part of unions. This is proposing a 2.5% increase for them, again, which is in line with all of our bargaining unit contracts.
And they
So-
get this regardless of performances, I think. Is that what you're asking?
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's how I feel, folks. Okay. Anybody got anything else they want to
guess I would have gone about it a different way. We could have discussed this in the meeting or the caucus. And if you have one person that you have an issue with, make a motion and lock their salary in down instead of voting against the rest of the people. So, but, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. I really don't.
Well, I'm not gonna go out there and point fingers at the person, but I think people know because they just heard somebody up here whisper the name.
I didn't hear it.
I didn't.
It's okay, let's just move on.
Let's move on, because it's past
It's
6 to
gonna pass
1.
anyway.
Yeah. Stan, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
No.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Absolutely.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 105, 2019 passes 6-1. Next is ordinance 106, 2019.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Twinsburg, Ohio to enter into a contract with Teamsters Local 436 and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to declare ordinance 106, 2019 an emergency and place it on its third and final reading. Is there a second?
One second. I'll yield.
Ms. McFerrin seconds. Is there any discussion?
The purpose of the emergency is to put the union contract in place for Teamsters, which is wastewater.
Right, before we have paid back there.
Retroactive.
So,
Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
The emergency clause passes 7-0. Next, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 106, 2019. Is there a second?
Second?
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any further discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ordinance 106, 2019 passes 7-0. All right, that's the end of the legislation. Next, we're on to unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous.
I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving this week. And Mr. Steele, thank you for your service, not only these last 4 years, but as a police officer prior to that. Nothing further. Thank you.
I would like to echo his sentiments. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our residents. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving and safe holiday. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving and safe hunting.
Good for you. Mr. Barr.
I just wanted to thank Boy Scout, or Cub Scout Pack 67 for letting me speak to them on this past Wednesday. They had some awesome ideas, like why don't we put pop-up sprinklers on the side of the road to prevent car fires, which I thought was pretty ingenious. So, I just want to give them credit if that ever takes off. Pack 67.
Are we gonna put a sign on the side of the road? If your car's on fire, pull up
Pull
here.
over here. Exactly.
This be the spot.
I get that all day long.
That's a good idea.
And, I just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody has a restful, safe, and wonderful holiday and gets to spend it with friends, family, and loved ones. And again, to echo Mr. Bellin's sentiments, Mr. Steele, thank you for your time here on council and your previous service to the committee before that as a police officer. That's all I have.
Mr. Scafidi.
I did mine already.
Oh, you did?
I did, sir. Yes.
Okay.
My
Maureen.
turn?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving as well, and I'd like to congratulate April Dale and the Dale family. I believe this is the third member of their family to either be an Eagle Scout or the Gold Award, so I think that's pretty impressive. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and that's all I have. Mrs. McFerrin.
I just wanted to take a minute to mention that I'm not going to be at the next meeting, the December 3rd meeting, as I was already committed to a National Association of Realtors leadership training prior to us moving the December 17th meeting up to December 3rd. And being the last one to speak, I also thank you, Mr. Steele, for your service in the last 4 years and to our community. And I'd like to wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving to all our residents and to our amazing city employees. That's all I have.
Thank you. This is the end of the last 35 years of me working for the citizens in the city of Twinsburg. 31 of it was as a police officer, and the last 4 here on council, and I have to say I felt more safe being a police officer than being up here on council. Okay. We accomplished some good things up here on council, and we accomplished some things that obviously we disagree with, or I disagree with you guys on. I don't think anybody up here was doing anything not trying to do their best. The last year of me being the council president was an interesting time. Did I do it the best? No, I realize that. I never came into this council or any other place thinking that I was gonna be the best guy up here. But the one thing I do is I make my decision and I stick to my decisions. Whether they're popular or not, that's the one thing I learned as a police officer. It's a 50-50 crapshoot as a police officer, whether somebody's gonna like what you're gonna do or you don't. But the big thing is to be able to get up in the morning, look yourself in the mirror and know that you did what you did because it was the right thing to do. So, being that, Mrs. Walker, would you please come up here? Come here. Ms. McFerrin, you can adjourn the meeting. No, come back here, you can have my seat because you get it next time. Well, we're gonna fight it. No, come back here, Daisy. No humor, council. Does anybody have an objection to me letting her sit here?
I have no objection.
I'm looking forward to it.
Mayor having,
Do you have to adjourn the meeting? I'm guessing yes, adjourn the meeting, right?
Bye, Brian.
Have a seat.
Sit down. It's all yours.
I guess I'm adjourning the meeting at 8.
Ask the mayor.
Oh, you have anybody else, anything else? Sorry, he told me to do it.
No,
I was
I-
like, all right.
I just want to wish Brian the best. Yeah, the last 4 years, we've had a lot of ups, we've had a lot of downs, but I wish the best for him, and you know, the disagreements we have up here on council are actually healthy, so you know, it keeps us all on our toes and pointing in the right direction. So I wish him the best. See ya. He's working his way out of here quickly. So.
Joanne?
Anybody else?
Anything else?
I said anybody else?
Anyone else?
All right. Are we ready?
We're ready.
I'm going to join the meeting at 8:23.
8:23.
Yay! All right.
Grab that key fob now.
Make sure I was doing the right thing. I looked that day.